Welcome back to ESPR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny. We are reviewing and looking forward to all things Shakur Stevenson in this video. Shakur Stevenson, really impressive performance over the weekend, getting kind of a stoppage at his debut at lightweight, stopping Shirichino Yoshino, sorry if I pronounced that correctly, in the 6th round after knocking the Japanese fighter down twice. Danny, thanks for joining me as always. First question is kind of just general thoughts on Stevenson's debut at lightweight over the weekend.
Well, I've only had a chance to watch the highlights. Sky Sports uploaded the highlights pretty quickly after the fight, which is like the best thing about this deal with Top Rank, because you get to see proper footage of these American fights. But really impressive. Thought the stoppage, if you see it sort of isolated, it looks a bit soft, and I think it maybe could have gone another round or two, but it was like that Yoshino didn't really land a glove on Stevenson from the highlights that were uploaded. And I know you want to see a sort of conclusive finish, but what's the point? Like, if he's got next to no chance of winning, but now he's so good. Like, his judgment, the range, and how he finds counters while slipping in the pocket, he's really impressive, and seems to have plenty of sting in his shots up in lightweight, because he's always been like unbelievably slick and really hard to hit, but he's become such a good offensive fighter in recent fights, and like looks as if he'll have absolutely no problems up at lightweight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think before Saturday, Stevenson's last 5 wins, 4 of them had been by stoppage. That one knockout win against Jamel Herring, who was at the end of his career. So now 10 KOs, but I just think one thing that was key about Saturday was the power he had. Knocked Yoshino down in the 2nd round and the 4th round, I believe, and then the referee at the end of the 5th round just went over to Yoshino's corner and said, "You need to kind of give something back, or I'm going to call an end to this." And he stayed true to his word. About a minute into the 6th round, decided that Yoshino had seen enough. But yeah, I think that was key with Stevenson on Saturday, as he just looked like he was adding power to his game, and I expect more stoppages to come at lightweight. We are just going to ask now, what's next? Well, not what's next for Stevenson, but can anybody beat him? It's a strange one, because obviously in the lightweight division there are quite a few undefeated fighters. But yeah, I'm just going to ask you for your opinion, Daniel, on a couple of them. I think the first one is still just start with the guy who's kind of top of the chain at the moment, Devin Haney, undisputed champion, 29-0, fighting Lomachenko quite soon. Tricky question to ask. Stevenson was asked about it in his post-fight interview, on Saturday. But yeah, would you lean towards a certain someone in that fight?
It's a tricky one. I probably would lean towards Stevenson, to be honest, although I think Haney's potentially got the best chance of anyone at lightweight, just because of the size of him. His jab is potentially a match for Stevenson's, I would say, maybe even ever so slightly better. But aside from that, I'm not really sure what he would have over Stevenson. And it's a strange one with Haney, because even though he's undisputed at lightweight, like, his resume is not brilliant. I mean, the Kambosos wins are obviously the best bit of form on there, but aside from that, like, how good is Kambosos even as well?
Yeah,
really. Whereas you look at Stevenson, I know it's a lower weight, but Valdez, Jamel Herring, Robson, Hussein Sauer, all better wins than anyone Haney's got. Like, so I would say I would probably make Shakur Stevenson a favourite in that fight, although I think stylistically maybe Haney's the toughest fight for him. I don't think it'd be a great fight to watch. It would just be a sort of fencing match. It would be intriguing, if not particularly explosive, but I think I would probably make Stevenson a favourite, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, both still very young. Devin Haney still only 24, Stevenson 25.
Yeah.
I think it's still unclear what Haney's plans are in the lightweight division, if he's planning to stay there after the Lomachenko fight, win or lose, or if he's planning to move up again. Yeah, we'll have to see. Got another tough one here. Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. That's an undefeated versus undefeated fight happening very soon. What's your pick for that fight, and what are your thoughts on the winner possibly fighting Shakur Stevenson in the next few months?
I do edge Tank in that fight, but maybe not as certain as it was when the fight was first announced. Like both definitely capable of hurting and stopping the other, but I would favour Tank to land at some point in Garcia and stop him. But I think Shakur Stevenson's all wrong for Gervonta Davis. Like I wouldn't give Tank much more than a puncher's chance in that, to be honest. Obviously, he's very good at landing that punch, but like a Shakur Stevenson preparing for Tank's style, like Tank's been outboxed like not comprehensively, but for large parts of fights against like Barrios, nowhere near the level of boxer Stevenson. Hector Luis Garcia, nowhere near the level of Shakur Stevenson. And whilst he's obviously went on to land late and win the fight, like Barrios, I think it was the 11th round, and that was a sort of nip and tuck fight up to that point. And I think Stevenson would box his ears off, to be honest. And bar, him landing that big left hand, I don't see a way he beats him, to be honest.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, sticking to your guns here. Appreciate the lack of fence sitting in this video. Final one from me, Danny. I think the guy who is seen as still a pound for pound star, top fighter of his generation. The guy who's fighting Devin Haney and could beat Devin Haney next month, although he's the underdog, Vasyl Lomachenko. This is a fight that it would have been amazing to see this fight at super featherweight a year ago, maybe. Unclear again what's Lomachenko's plans in the future. Obviously, he's at lightweight, which is arguably a division he doesn't really belong in weight-wise. However, if Lomachenko does beat Devin Haney next month, this is Lomachenko versus Stevenson is going to be a fight that's discussed. So keen to get your thoughts on that one as well.
Yeah, that'll definitely be the fight if Lomachenko wins, because he's signed sort of more long term with Top Rank, where I think Haney's deal expires after this fight. Oh, based on what we've seen of Lomachenko against Jermaine Ortiz, again, you would have to make Stevenson a favourite. But like if he somehow rolls back the years to even like the Nakatani performance or something like that, then that becomes a lot closer to a 50-50 fight. And stylistically, like that version of Lomachenko would be nothing like Shakur's ever fought. But an old saying, Father Time's undefeated, and it looks as if Father Time is starting to catch up with Lomachenko, while Stevenson only appears to be getting better and better. And again, though, if he did really impress against Haney, I would maybe make it closer to 50-50. But again, like based off recent evidence, I would make Shakur a favourite.
Okay, Shakur beats them all. Final question from me, Danny. I think out of the fights we've discussed, obviously Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Vasyl Lomachenko as well. What's the one fight you would most want from like an entertainment point of view? The fight you would want to see the most in terms of Stevenson facing one of those guys?
Sadly, it's probably the least likely, and that would be Tank. Like that fight would be huge.
Yeah.
Like I know Ryan Garcia is a big star at the minute, and is probably a bigger name worldwide in boxing than Shakur Stevenson at the minute. But like a year and a half's time, that fight would be absolutely huge. So that would be the one I would most like to see. But unfortunately, I can't see it happening. I don't think, with Davis being predominantly on Showtime and Shakur on Top Rank, and just the way boxing is. But that would be the one for me.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Nice one. Okay, no, it's been fun to discuss this with you, Danny. I think final question from me. I think obviously last Saturday it was Stevenson's debut at lightweight. What do you think will happen next? Obviously I think it's maybe a timing issue, because if he is going to face one of those top guys next, he's going to have to wait until, I would say, October, November to fight. So I think there are some people saying maybe he will have another fight at lightweight, maybe in July, August time, possibly, before seeing what's next. Do you agree that that's most likely to happen? And if so, are there any kind of opponents that speak out to you, opponents you would want to see Stevenson face?
It all depends what happens with Devin Haney in that undisputed fight. because I think he'll move up, to be honest. Like he looks tighter and tighter at each weight cut at 135, and I think with the Shakur fight being what's offered, I think, you know what, I don't need that, and I'll move up here. Um, so it depends what happens with that. You'd imagine if all the belts became vacant, he would be in a pretty good position. I've not checked the rankings, but I'd imagine he'd be in a pretty good position to get a shot at a vacant world title. If that doesn't happen, I think someone like Isaac Cruz would be a good fight. In the interim, obviously, gave Gervonta Davis one of his toughest tests at lightweight. Although I seen Stevenson saying apparently they had tried to make that fight for his first fight at lightweight, and for whatever reason it couldn't happen. But I think like it would be a good style. Obviously, Cruz, a very aggressive pressure fighter. You could say that favors Stevenson style, gives him a target to hit, but again, also could be a look he hasn't seen, a really physical 135. So that would probably be the fight for me. If it's not going to be a world title shot next.
Okay, good stuff. All right, Danny. Yeah, good. Thank you for joining me again. I'm just kind of excited for this new chapter in Shakur Stevenson's career. I think he's kind of an elite fighter, and yeah, we'll see. Just look, as always, we just hope we see these fights. We hope we're not here in a year's time and still discussing them, by which time Haney's moved up, Lomachenko's retired, Davis has moved up. All these things could happen. Might never see any of them. So fingers crossed we do, and we kind of find out who the best is. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll speak to you again soon.
No problem, mate. Thanks again for having us.